yourself and how you do contemplate?
I would make a separation between thinking and contemplating and looking. In our visual world, looking is crucial because you make something, you make a mark, there's an echo immediately, and you have to respond to that and develop it or destroy it and start a new one by looking. The contemplating thinking is about struggling with ideas that have to turn into form over time, or with musicians, that has to turn into music through instruments. So there is that division, but I find that I improve, I think, incrementally by spending time looking, just spending time looking. And something that I thought was done a week ago seems lacking in something, and I don't know why. I can't explain it. And no artist really can, unless it's you're falling into the trap of propaganda political art, not the good political art, which is extremely rare. And there you're preaching to the converted. It's an instinctive thing. It's the visual. The contemplative is you could be riding in a train and thinking about it, or trying to figure it out, or you'll be reading something, and there'll be an echo. There's a poet that I love called Stephen Dunn. I read him all the time. I recommend him to anyone. And he's always surprising me. And I read his books over and over and over again. Some of them I almost know by heart. And yet, how do I know? Because I keep marking with a pencil. And then I come up and I say, hey, why didn't I mark this one? Mark this one. Then that one, that wasn't so important. And keeping your sources, reading is important, listening is important, talking to fellow artists, being around creative people. I'm sorely lacking in that lately because it's not a lot of people. I think as you age, your compass, not compass, your
circle.
The group is smaller. Some of them already kicked the bucket anyway, so it's, and the contemplative, if you're not careful, you can fall asleep at the same time. That's why I say being alert is part of it, and noticing it, and trying not to let stuff interfere. Whatever that is, someone knocking on the door, bad noises, smells, whatever it is, just that'll always try to trip you up. Don't let it. It's your choice. It's your choice with whatever. Are you an artist? Are you a
Yes.
musician artist?
Yes, musician, but I do a variety of things.
What do you do for contemplation?
I think contemplation is such, it's almost, I think that you become aware of a concept first. You think macro. I think it ultimately hits you. And then from there, you try to figure out, at least how I look at it, is I try to find a narrative within it. And I try to figure out what is the story that I'm trying to tell. And sometimes that can be broad, sometimes I can, macro to micro. But also understanding that, at least what I try to do is to add so many details, but keep it so simple that when you pull it apart, it's like an accordion. Einstein once said that there's 5 levels of intelligence. There's smart, there's intelligent, there's brilliant, there's genius, and then there's simple. So it's almost like sometimes at the end of the day is simplicity almost, the most enlightening aspect of it. But I think of a concept and I think of the narrative, and then I try to figure out and see what is the story. I try to position everything as if there's a character involved in it.
This is for your music.
This is for, yes, but then also for other things that I do in life and work, is trying to figure out, I think that ultimately I think that storytelling is the greatest, art form. It's why the Greeks back in the day, it was like the original form of entertainment was bards. Cities would wait for a bard to come so they could sit around and listen, and mostly it was stories driven through harmony and song and narrative.
Yeah, I'm following you, but when I think about the visual arts,
yes,
the word narrative is problematic when it comes to abstract art. And critics can write whatever they want about Malevich, that is revolutionary, that his work is utopian, and so on and so forth. You can't argue with that. Malevich started doing peasants, did abstract work, and ended up a peasant because the Soviet government decided that abstract art is dangerous. It's dangerous for the regime. Can you believe that? Think of Trump with a painting.
But that's just converting someone's frame to propaganda. Thank you.
No Trump talk here. You got that?
No.
Off with your head. John?
Do you think about your legacy? And if you do, what do you think about it?
Where am I going to store the works?
Your legacy. That's a big one.
Where am I going to store the works? You can't control your legacy. You can, as an artist, you can have archives and you can have PowerPoints and you can do films like this and so on, but you have no control over it. I would love the work to carry on, but truly there's only so much you can do. But sure, everyone wants to leave a mark. Okay?
One more. I was just wondering, you talk about how, it's not really about understanding, but was it always that way for you?
Dexter again.
Was it always that way for you, or was there a point when you realized that there was...
Are you talking about understanding, or are you talking about looking for meaning? Big difference.
Maybe you could...
I always was trying to understand what I'm doing to the extent that I can. For example, I was around people who were tearing paper, folding paper, and working with paper as a material, not as a surface that has to be worked on. And I understood that this is important, but for me, it wasn't enough because I needed something that had more meat to it, and that's why it turned into, so I understood that. But the meaning of it, it always astounds me. I had a professor called Avram Kampf, and he said, your work is very Israeli. I said, why? And he said, well, you take these 4x8 sheets of plywood and you paint them black. Why? I said, well, it's a basic marking color. Good answer. And then I break them with an X. Why? Because I didn't want to use paper. And then I displaced them in the room. He said, that's Israeli. You take a minimal thing, you improvise on it, do the best you can with what there is, and you've left Israel, so you're displaced, so these pieces are displayed. On and on. It was fun to listen to. But what's the meaning? I don't know. You're getting into dicey stuff, between understanding and meaning. And sure you want to go there?
Dicey stuff. I like that.
All right?
Michael!
Thank you.